Good afternoon. This is meteorologist Roger Erickson with the National Weather Service in Lake Charles with our Tropical Storm Harvey briefing for 4:30 p.m. Monday, August 28th. Going for our slideshow today, Harvey is still a weak tropical storm moving very slowly near the central Texas coast. It's going to slowly head towards the upper Texas coast before making landfall Wednesday morning as a tropical storm. The major storyline of this system is continuing the heavy rain and dangerous flood threat, especially in southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana. Storm total values could approach the 30 to 40 inch range in parts of southeast Texas. Now, I'm saying 30 to 40, I'm including the rain that we've already seen on top of the rain that we're going to see today, tonight, and for the next couple of days. So big numbers. 40 inches is a ballpark number of what we saw in the big flood of 1994 in southeast Texas. So for those of you in the southeast Texas area that remember the flood of 94, this is going to be probably comparable to what you saw during that event. Other than the fact that this one here is going to be including much more large sections of urban areas besides the rural areas of Jefferson County. We're talking about the urban areas also being impacted by this. We're going to talk about that as we go through the slideshow today. Now, the last bullet point on this one here, we're still not expecting the system to strengthen significantly wind-wise, but due to that forecast track, there is a tropical storm warning in effect for Jefferson County, Cameron Parish, and Vermilion Parish. So expect to see wind gusts in the 30 to 40 mile wind range, probably starting Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. The storm surge, we're still looking at 1 to 3 feet above ground level. We do have a storm surge watch in effect now for our entire forecast area along the coast. Now, during the period of high tides is when we expect to see these higher storm surge values in Jefferson County, Cameron, Vermilion parishes, and in actuality extending east into Iberia and St. Mary Parish as well. We are forecasting another 8 to 15 inches of rain possible in southeast Texas, 6 to 10 more inches in southwest Louisiana, 5 to 8 inches in south central Louisiana, and 4 to 8 inches in central Louisiana. And I'm added an extra bullet point on here that we'll be talking about, that there is potential for higher rain totals in southwest or south central Louisiana, depending on where these rain bands develop over the next couple of days. We're expecting near record or record river flooding on the Pineland Bayou near Sour Lake and Bevel Oaks, and major flooding for Village Creek at Coops and the Neches River near Saltwater Barrier and Beaumont, and they'll continue the isolated threat of tornadoes for tonight and tomorrow. Here's the latest satellite imagery of Harvey. It's moved offshore, but you notice there's kind of two areas of enhanced convection or thunderstorms. One is inland across portions of the central and southeast Texas area between Corpus and Houston, and then we kind of have a dry slot in part of southwest Louisiana, and then more enhanced thunderstorm activity over in southeast Louisiana. However, that dry spot may be a little bit tricky to predict where exactly that's going to be over the next couple of days, because there'll be dry slots and then there'll be new rain bands developing like there is right now. This is a radar picture from about half hour ago that shows a rain band developing from near Lake Charles down to east of Cameron, moving offshore. And that rain band is going to be moving onshore here over the next several hours. We'll be probably issuing and reissuing flash flood warnings for the area. Now, Jonathan Brazell, our service hydrologist, did have to issue a flash flood emergency for parts of Jefferson and Hardin counties, the area where they've already seen over 20 inches of rain. There's a large cluster of heavier rain moving through that area again. So that's actually up to the emergency level. So just for purposes of education here, a flash flood warning, of course, is what we typically issue when we expect water to get up on the streets pretty good and potentially into people's houses. An emergency is when we are expecting the threat to people's lives, where if you're actually out there in the water, there's a good chance that if you don't get to safety immediately, your life would be in danger. So that's what we're saying right now for western sections of Jefferson County as well as parts of Hardin County. Now on the map here, you also notice there's a little pink box. That's a tornado warning that we had earlier. We did have a tornado report indicated by the little tornado symbol on there as well. We received that report from the Jefferson County Emergency Management Office, who received a report from the Sheriff's Office over there earlier this afternoon. Here's the latest forecast track for Harvey. Basically, it's offshore a few miles. It's going to slowly move up the Texas coast and make landfall early Wednesday morning, still advertising around the High Island area. And then you notice it's moving inland across basically our entire western forecast area, where by Thursday morning it's up around Toledo Bend. Now, the entire time we expect it to stay a tropical storm. But typically the heaviest rain associated with tropical systems occurs near the center of the circulation. So along this path is a spot where I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the heavier rain over the next 3 days. We're talking about moving inland all the way by Thursday. So I think the rain threat will be diminishing once we get past that Thursday time frame. Here's the rain totals that we've seen so far. The white area over in the Houston area is over 20 inches, but talking with the officials over there, they're reporting anywhere from 25 to 35 inches of rain in the Houston metro area. Now, in our area of southeast Texas, parts of Hardin, Jefferson, and Orange County, as well as parts of western Cameron Parish, they've seen 20 to 25 inches of rain so far. Tyler, Jasper, Newton counties, and parts of Vernon, Beauregard, Calcasieu, and Cameron parishes have seen anywhere from 10 to 16 inches, and the number has decreased as you go further to the east. Here's our forecast. This is an updated forecast graphic from tonight through Friday, September 1st, showing you where we expect the heaviest rain to be located. So we still see that darker shade, very dark shade of red on there that indicates 15 inches plus in parts of Tyler County and Hardin County. So big numbers over there potentially in parts of our east and southeast Texas area. You notice it's showing a 14-inch bullseye in the Beaumont, Port Arthur area, 8 inches in Lake Charles, 4 inches in Alexandria, 5 inches Lafayette. But I wanted to point out to you, I drew out the black circle on here, that depending on where the rain bands develop tomorrow, there's going to be the potential for higher rain totals than what we're saying. So over there in Lafayette, we're saying 5 inches. In reality, some places could get as much as 10 to 15 inches of rain. So just be aware of that there's a potential for some higher values during this event. Now, this is the graphic for the next 5 days. This isn't a graphic for just tomorrow, but be aware that for a storm total over the next 4 or 5 days, 10 to 15 inches is not out of the question for our south central Louisiana areas, even though we're not totally representing it with this graphic here. That's kind of an important point. We got a lot of activity, a lot of flooding going on in southeast Texas and parts of southwest Louisiana, but I don't want to neglect the issue for the Acadiana district as well, that there's a potential for some big numbers to develop over there. It really depends on where the outer rain band ends up moving in over the next several days. So here's our forecast rainfall totals for tomorrow. Anywhere from about 1.5 inches in Alexandria to 3 inches in Lafayette, 4 inches in Lake Charles, 8 inches in Beaumont. But once again, I'm outlining the area of southwest Louisiana and south central Louisiana. Tomorrow, depending on where the rain band's set up, we've got the potential for 5 to 10 inches of rain just tomorrow alone. So I can't sit here and tell you for sure that Lafayette's going to get just 3 inches. They have the potential, depending on where the rain band develops tomorrow, it could be as high as 5 to 10 inches. Obviously, if that occurs, we'll be issuing flash flood warnings, and depending on how this thing sets up, we may have to do flash flood emergencies too, depending on how much rain we get tonight into tomorrow morning and tomorrow during the day. Here's the forecast graphic for Wednesday. Similar storyline. The big bullseye on Wednesday, you notice, is up in Tyler County, where they're advertising 6 to 8 inch bullseye. Now, that's because of the forecast track of where this system is going. But reality is these values are probably underrepresented again for parts of southwest Louisiana and south central Louisiana. So even though we're saying a 1 to 2 inch range across south central and southwest Louisiana, localized amounts could be as high as 3 to 5 inches, and we'll have to reevaluate this tomorrow to see if we need to bump those numbers up even higher. Now here's where we start to see, at least hopefully, the light at the end of the tunnel, where we start seeing smaller rain numbers. Now by Thursday, this system should be up in the Toledo Bend area, so that's the focus for where the heavy rains will be, up in the Toledo Bend area. Whether or not these numbers verify, they're saying 2 to 3 inches. That may be on the low side. We may need to bump those numbers up in the Toledo Bend region. But right now, that's what they're advertising. Smaller numbers in the remainder of the area. I don't put it on here, but once again, there could be still outer rain bands that could be in our area that could produce another 3 to 5 inches somewhere. So just be aware of that. Friday, the numbers have really significantly dropped off. We're not advertising as much rain on Friday. The system should be well out of our area. Still, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a rain band still in the region. So there could be an isolated strip of 1 to 3 inches of rain even on Friday, and some goofy little rain band that's out there, whereas the majority of the area may actually be sunny and not even see any rain at all. So just be aware this Friday forecast is a generic one that we're looking at overall, but isolated spots could be much higher than that. Here's our river forecast page. It's called AHAPS, and so there's a link to it on there where you can go to this website, and all these dots on here are forecast points that the River Forecast Center and Jonathan Brazel, our service hydrologist, works together hand in hand to come up with numbers to give us an idea of how high the water levels are going to get along the rivers. So you notice there's color schemes on here. The pinks or purples are considered major flooding, the red is moderate flooding, the orange is minor flooding, and yellow is near flood stage. So a lot of forecast points are in the orange. We do have record flooding still expected or close to it for Pond Bayou near Sour Lake and Bevel Oaks, major flooding in Village Creek near Kuntz and the Natchez River at Saltwater Barrier in Beaumont, and moderate flooding on the Natchez River at Rockland, Town Bluff and Evadale, Sabine River in Bon Weir and Deweyville, Bayou Anacoco at Rose Pine, the Calcasieu River at Old Town Bay and Saltwater Barrier, Mermentau River near Mermentau, and Bayou Nepake near Eunice. I made a 4-panel here for some of the higher focused areas that we're really looking at right now very closely. The top left is Village Creek at Kuntz. We're expecting this river forecast crest to be as high as a 2006 flood, going up to about 27 feet somewhere in the Tuesday through Thursday time frame this week. It's got the potential, it could go higher than that if we get more rain than what we're currently advertising. But right now we're advertising this to go into a major flood at some point tomorrow, and then peaking, cresting, a flat crest we call that, in the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame around 27 foot. Don't be surprised if this number changes tomorrow. We'll update the numbers tomorrow because these are kind of critical values where we're going to major flood. The bottom left picture is Pine Island Bayou near Sour Lake. We're expecting this to get the highest value since the 1994 flood. The record 94 flood got up to 37.5. Right now we're saying almost 36 feet. And all it would take is just a little bit more rain in the area, and this will get easily bumped up to the same level, if not higher, than the 94 flood. So for those people that are in the Hardin County and the Jefferson County side of the Pine Bayou region, these are spots that are going to have get a little flooding. We're talking about flooding that's going to get very deep in people's houses. People should not be staying in these houses that typically got flooded. If you lived there during the 94 flood, you know how deep the water got in those areas. On the right side, the right column on the top is major flooding for northwest Orange County. That's the saltwater barrier gauge. This is a relatively new gauge. We don't have a long history of what the record is. So right now the record is almost 12 feet, but that doesn't go very far back in history. So we are forecasting this to go up to major flood there. What that gauge there is useful for is northwestern Orange County. So for the Lakeview area and surrounding communities, you see it going to major flood. This is going to be a situation where those people should not be staying in their homes either. They need to be getting out of there because this is going to be a very dangerous situation for them. Finally, the bottom right picture is the Natchez River at Beaumont. We're advertising this similar to the Pine Island Bayou at Sour Lake, that this will be the highest recorded value since the 94 flood. So this is going to be higher than what we had during Hurricane Ike. This is water coming down the river as opposed to water backing up necessarily from the Gulf like we had during Ike. So we're looking at the value here. The record crest looks like is 13 feet from 94. We're approaching that even on Saturday. In fact, Beaumont may have a crest later than this weekend. It may be Sunday or even Monday before the crest gets there. So be aware that Beaumont going to this big of a number has a potential to impact local industries that work along the Natchez River between Beaumont and Port Arthur. This is going to be a situation that People need to know their local elevations and know what kind of levees you have set up around your refineries to know whether or not this water level is going to be impacting your local areas, your docks, where your ships would be typically docked at the in the ship channel there. This is what we're looking at. And you can see that it's a rather, I won't call it a fast rise. We're at 5.8 from this morning, but it's expected to go up to a major flood stage sometime tomorrow night. All right. Now we're looking, let me back up for another thing. One thing that we're not showing on here is anything related to Port Arthur levee and whatnot going on down there, where that situation happened down by Taylor's Bayou region. There's flooding ongoing on Hillebrand and Taylor's Bayou. That's from the rainfall, as well as a combination of the water backing up where it can't drain out into the Gulf because of the water being piled up along the coast from the storm surge. So there's a lot of flooding going on in Jefferson County, and it's probably some of it's going to be extended into Orange County as well. We talked earlier with the Orange County officials to let them know about some of the hot spots that we typically worry about over there as well. All right, the tornado potential, we have a tornado watch out right now for parts of southeast Texas and southern Louisiana until midnight tonight. And then the graphic on the right shows the threat for tornadoes tomorrow. It's further inland. You can see it goes almost our entire forecast area. I'd say up to the 190 corridor for the slight risk, or 15%. We did have another report of a tornado today, like I said, out in the rural part of Jefferson County. Did no damage, but tomorrow I expect to see several more tornado reports across the area. The storm surge threat. We have a storm surge watch out for our entire region, and these are the forecast values that we're looking at across the spot. It's the same numbers that we talked about this morning, 1 to 3 feet above ground level during high tides. And the timing of the high tides is the same one that we talked about this morning. We got one coming in late tonight between 11:30 and 12:50 a.m. And then again tomorrow morning between 7:46 a.m. and 8:20 a.m. Now, I got several locations listed here at risk. People along the coast: Sabine Pass, Holly Beach, downtown Cameron, Creo, Kelso Bayou near Hackberry, Rutherford Beach, Pecan Island, Intracoastal City, Delcombe, Sycamore Point, Burns Point. But I'm not mentioning these inland locations here: Beaumont, the City of Orange, Lake Charles, Lake Arthur, and there's probably more communities over in Acadia Parish as well, perhaps even Crowley. These areas that typically have water that drains out of your local area from the heavy rains into the big rivers, the Calcasieu, the Mermentau and whatnot, the Sabine, the Neches, is going to have a difficult time draining out because of the storm surge problem going on. So even though we're not really talking about storm surge per se for these I-10 corridor cities, there's going to be flooding ongoing in those locations as well, from a combination of the heavy rain falling and that rain not being able to drain out into the Gulf of Mexico because the tides are running so high along the coast. Here's our wind graphics that we're looking at now. We're showing kind of a timeline from Tuesday during the day, Tuesday night in the middle, Wednesday on the right side. The timing of the winds really increasing will be Tuesday night when the storm is starting to approach our region. You can see it's predominantly in our coastal waters. The winds might be increasing for the I-10 corridor south, maybe in that 15 to 25 mile an hour range on Tuesday night, whereas Wednesday morning, the numbers go a little bit higher. We're probably looking at 25 to 35 miles an hour, starting at the coast, going perhaps as far inland as the I-10 corridor from the Beaumont to Lake Charles region, down to the coast. So that's the main spot that we're focusing on from the perspective of the wind issue associated with this. We may have to update this and maybe put in a little bit higher wind gusts, maybe 40 miles an hour or 50. But right now we're saying 35 miles an hour, but we'll be watching that closely to see how strong the tropical storm stays over the next couple of days before landfall. So our summary sheet: Harvey is a weak tropical storm moving very slowly near the central Texas coast, but will slowly move up the Texas coast, making landfall Wednesday morning somewhere around High Island as a tropical storm. But the major storyline associated with this system is the heavy rain and dangerous flood threat, especially for southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana. Storm totals could approach the 30 to 40 inch range in parts of southeast Texas. The system's not expected to strengthen significantly wind-wise, but due to the track of the forecast, we do have a tropical storm warning in effect for Jefferson County in southeast Texas and Cameron and Vermilion parishes in southwest Louisiana. We could see wind gusts in the 30 to 40 mile range near the coast in that warning area. The storm surge will be 1 to 3 feet above ground level. The timing of that will be during the high tides tonight and tomorrow morning. More than likely, it'll be the high tides Tuesday night and Wednesday morning as well. We're also forecasting an additional 8 to 15 inches of rain in southeast Texas, 6 to 10 inches in southwest Louisiana, 5 to 8 in south central Louisiana, 4 to 8 in central Louisiana. That's basically the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame that we're looking at mostly there. However, there is a potential for higher rain totals in southwest and or south central Louisiana, depending on where the rain bands set up over the next couple of days. Record river flooding still possible for Pineland Bayou near Sour Lake and Bevel Oaks. Major flooding for Village Creek near Coons and the Natchez River in the Beaumont and Saltwater Barrier regions that will impact major metro areas, especially the industrialized areas along the Natchez Waterway from Beaumont down to the coast. There's also a threat for isolated tornadoes across our entire region tonight and again tomorrow. So the scenario, what we're going to be doing, we'll be doing another conference call tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Donald Jones, our social media guru, will be doing a Facebook Live presentation at 6:30 p.m. tonight. If you guys want to log on to Facebook under the Water Service Lake Charles page, you can watch Donald. I believe Montre Lockwood will be helping him out also, talking about some of the river issues that are ongoing as well. So we'll be updating on that briefing online if you're interested in that as well. In the meantime, I'm going to unmute the phone line here. And if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and ask us.
Okay, you heard it. We've talked about this all week. This is going to be a continuing problem at least through, looks like at least Wednesday, late Wednesday. We've had around 6 to 10 inches of rain across the area today. As most of you know, if you drove around today, we're right at the level where if we get another 3 to 5 inch rain, we're going to be in trouble. And Sheriff's going to comment on that in just a minute. But first, I'd like Andy Patrick to go ahead and give us any weather questions you have and give his summary of what we just saw.
Okay, thanks. Obviously, Roger did a really good job of bringing together this tropical storm event. The main takeaways, again, as we've been mentioning, this is going to be a heavy rain event, but storm surge is going to be a factor with regard to, even though it's only 1 to 3 feet, it's going to be preventing a lot of the water drainage off from this heaviest rains. The next thing that we need to probably keep in mind too is where these rain bands form. If you, again, remember watching this on Saturday, all the rainfall in the city of Houston, very big rain band that went up pretty much through the Houston area, all the way up to College Station and so forth, that's where we were seeing those 20, 30-inch rain amounts for there. We probably won't see quite that much or near that much with that, but they're still, given our situation here, easily another, like Dick said, 3 to 5 inches could come from this rain band. So we have to see where they set up. And again, they may set up, they're likely to set up during the night somewhere and then progress throughout the morning. You may see a little bit of a lull during the afternoon with these, with the rain, kind of maybe what we're seeing now. But nighttime is normally when they start organizing and start coming on shore. You've heard the rain overnight as well. Wednesday's kind of going to be a very, we call from a heavy rain standpoint, maybe more of a transition where we may see with Harvey moving onshore and moving towards the north, another swath of heavy rain could be hitting us, especially early in the day Wednesday. But so stay tuned. The forecast for Wednesday is going to be somewhat tricky, but we do think at least early in the day, some very big rains are going to be coming across with Harvey moving towards the north. Then we're going to see the rainfall taper off Thursday and Friday. But keep in mind, even though the system is moving to our north and pretty far away from us, we're still going to have a very tropical moisture, good tropical moisture environment for thunderstorm development. So if any organized thunderstorms get going, even though the system is north of us, we could still have some local flooding issues. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Contraband Bayou flooding. People often relied on that tide station that's at Boardwalk Park, that buoy there, that's I think right under 4 feet now. When it gets to about 8 feet, for example, the Path Lab in those areas around Contraband Bayou are flooded on Lake Street. What forecasting? I saw some forecast models for a lot of the other reporting stations, but do you have any thoughts on that area, Contraband Bayou, Lake Street? What would cause that to get up to historic flood stage?
Again, likely the biggest factor is probably going to be the heavy rain and the drainage issues we talked about earlier. So I would definitely say the next couple days, at least through Wednesday, we're going to probably be seeing some pretty significant issues there. Whether it gets up, how high it goes up, it's definitely probably going to go up some more. If I had to guess right now, probably another at least 1 to 2 feet. But whether it's there or not, that water is just going to be there, and it's going to be hard to drain out.
Thanks.
Yes, hello? Is it on?
There you go.
Battery. Is it too early to start looking at it, what it may do over Toledo Bend, and as it relates to the Sabine River and having to open the gates and maybe possibly have a repeat of what we had last year?
The short answer on that is no, in respect that we have to monitor that. It is taking a very favorable track towards that area. We have to see how the rain bands evolve, how the rain situation evolves, especially as it moves up into the mid or upper Toledo or upper Sabine River basin. So if the system slows around that area, that would cause some big concerns. So interest along the Toledo Bend, the Sabine River, the Deweyville, Vinton, or areas are going to have to really kind of keep an eye on this, because even though once we get these heavy rains, the next week after that is probably when we're going to be dealing with even more significant river flooding. Yes, sir.
Sabine River Authority is tuned in to having to control that situation. Last time it kind of took them by surprise, and we had a different task here.
Yeah.
The question is the Sabine River Authority tuned in on the rise in the lake level on Toledo Bend? The answer is yes, Larry, but they have specified numbers that they release the water. So if it gets to a certain level, they automatically start releasing water. They do not release water in anticipation of a flood event like this. So we very well, if we get another rise like we did last time, like 2 feet in Toledo Bend, you probably have the same scenario we had in March of 2016 on the Sabine River. I wish I had better news than that, but I don't.
Any weather questions?
Okay. We talked about the state that we're at, any more water, particularly in some areas. The sheriff's been out surveying that, and he's going to come give you some comments about his thoughts on what we need to do as far as the levels of the water and the fact that we may receive some more of these heavy rains. Sheriff.
Well, it's very simply put, we just can't take any more. Anything we get is going to be crucial now at this point. So we have some spots that are look like the houses are fixing to take on water. So I'm going to ask the public. There's a couple things I'd like to ask them again. Let's talk about driving. We still have some driving going on in the city that probably doesn't need to be happening. If you don't have to get on the roads, don't get on the roads. There's no question in my mind we just have onlookers that are just going to sightsee and check things out, and all that does is disrupt our operations and what's going on. So we have flooding. It's simple as that, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away probably the rest of this week. To the public that's feels like they're being threatened, I'm gonna make a plea out to you. We got about probably 4 hours before dark. we would sure like to get you out of your homes if you think you're going to flood now. We're going to get you out regardless, but it sure makes it easier if we do it in the daylight hours. So, you know, that's where we're at, Dick. We've got some spots that it's just, they're fixing to get water in their houses. Anything that we get is gonna put it over the edge. So, people that are driving around in these areas, sightseeing and looking, you're just gonna cause water to get in people's house. So, stay away from these areas that are flood prone, and just be mindful and respectful that this is people's homes that they've worked for all their lives and put together, and we don't want to cause destruction. Mother Nature may cause it, but let's not let human nature be the cause of it and curiosity. You know, same thing with letting your kids play out in the storm drains and the storm water. We don't want to be out there having to rescue somebody in the high waters or the swift waters. When these thunderstorms and things come up, this water moves very swiftly. You know, I think what bothers us the most right now is the storm surge that's just gonna hold up water more. All through today, we've been very, very fortunate, again, that the rains have been such that it gives it just enough time to run off, and we've been able to recover. That's not gonna be the case tonight. I think high tide is at 11 o'clock. Is that correct? So, you know, we get rains during this period, which, as you can see, are almost likely. We're guaranteed that. How much, we don't know. It's not going to be able to go anywhere. So we're at that point now that it's critical. And again, don't let your guard down. This is not the time to relax. And when we have these little lulls, people start getting out and venturing and sightseeing or whatever. This is not the time to let your guard down. And we have, I think, our big work is yet to come, and we're just going to have to see what Mother Nature brings us. We're really at her mercy, and we can't do anything except sit back and watch what's going to happen and deal with it as it comes now. But we're prepared for that. But I'm going to say it again. We have a few hours of daylight hour left, and we can get you out safely right now if you want to get out, and we will. But, you know, we're going to get you out regardless, but it sure makes it easier for us now during the daylight hours. Again, barricades. I think all the mayors have expressed that they've put barricades up. Their public works, the state public works, DOTD, we've all put barricades out. People are moving those. You know, they're there for a reason. And you're going to get cited. You're going to get fined if we see you moving them and tampering with them. I think that's it, unless I'm forgetting something. Mayors, anything that I forgot that maybe you, from a public safety point that, yes, sir.
Sheriff, there's some talk on Facebook and just general word of mouth, community members wanting to try to have unorganized groups go out and help rescue people. My office has received some calls of this. Could you please address that so the public will know that, I know I can speak for my office, we're not at the point where we need that right now.
We really aren't. I promise you, if it gets to that point, I want their help. We're not going to sit back and watch people suffer in our community and not let the public come help us. But we're not even close to that right now. Right now we're fine. I say it again, it's not like we're in any dire straits. It really depends on what the weather does, and we don't, you know, if it stays like it is, we're just going to have slow rising water, and we can deal with it. It's a big, you know, one of these pockets of, and I think we still have that risk. You saw I think we're looking at 6 to 10 inches of rain in the next 24 hours. Is that correct? Or 12 hours?
That's through the rest of the period.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that a pocket of 5 inches of rain can't be dumped in any one area at any one time. Is that correct? If and when that happens, then we're going to have to go do something in that area. There's no question in my mind. And we can handle that. We have plenty of teams ready. Our fire departments have teams ready. But I can promise you, I'll be the first one to stand up and ask for help from whomever wants to come help if that happens. I told you we have about 6 sheriffs from the east side of the state that are ready and prepared with 20 and 30-man teams, self-contained, can take care of themselves to come over here. I've been on the phone with the governor during the week, the state police colonel. Our captain here is Benny, but the colonel has called me every day to check on us. They are ready. All we got to do is say help, and I promise you, we're going to have every asset we need here in our community. But in the meantime, if we need the public's help, I promise you, we're going to ask for them. and we would not hesitate in a heartbeat. But we're not there, and I hope we don't get there. You know, there's still the chance we won't be there, and that's what I think we ought to hope and pray for tonight and through tomorrow. We've been very fortunate so far. I mean, if you watch the weather, it's just kind of keeps splitting us, and I hope it keeps doing that. We just, I don't know if we're living right or it's just luck, but either way, we'll take whichever one it is. I'm good with it. So we have a lot to do still.
I don't have a mic. We've been getting some reports about the Calcasieu River along the West Fork. It's rushing over onto Edwards Road. Is that true? And do they need to evacuate if it is true?
Well, I haven't. Is my Marine guys here? They're not. I don't. Yeah, but that's very possible. You know, our rivers are they're done. They're over their banks, and they literally cannot take any more. So the longer we go without rain, obviously the better it is for us. But our rivers are our bayous, our ditches. There's not a place in Calcasieu Parish, not one area that you could say, oh, it's good there. Every place is full, and the water just has nowhere to go. So.
Would you advise them to go ahead and probably just start evacuating tonight?
Well, I think if people want to get out and they feel unsafe, we'll come get them. We'll help them. Certainly, people know their houses that normally flood. If you're in a flood-prone area, I mean, we're in day 6 of this, if I'm not mistaken, 7. They should know that by now. And I'm not fussing. I'm not criticizing them. That I know there's no question in my mind, none of us wants to leave our home. They want to protect it. They want to be there, and I get that. But your life's not worth that. And then you're going to risk my deputies' lives because we're going to come get you. So that's a call that they have to make. If they feel unsafe and they want us to come get them, or they want to get out, we're going to help them. But I don't think we're at a point where we need to dictate that to them. We've warned them all week, and that's the best we can do. We've been given the best information that we can give. These guys have worked hard. They're staying up all night to give us information and pass that along to us. And all we can do is base the decisions on what they're telling us. And so far, they've been very accurate. We've just been lucky that it's the rain that we have. We've gotten as much rain as they've said. It's just been a gradual, and we haven't had those massive 5-inch downpours in one particular area. But that could come. So, that's going to be up to the public what they want to do. We're here for them if they need us, and we're going to be prepared. But, we're not doing any mandatory evacuation. So, all right.
Brenda, I have some specific information on what you talked about. We got reports Edwards Road, Willow Springs Road. Yes, the water is getting up high. As the sheriff said, this fits into that category. If you think water is going to come in your house, you need to be calling them now so that they can go out and help you. We have places for those people to go. Should we bring them out? If they can't go to a family member, we'll find a shelter for them to go to. So the question was, what about people like Edwards Road if they have water coming up? Yes, now is the time to call us. As the sheriff said, it'll be dark in about 3 hours. It's much more difficult to operate after dark as opposed to getting it done now. So, any other questions? Mr. Goodry, you have any comments?
I'm good with Sheriff Tony Mancuso.
Okay. Andy, same times tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, next briefing, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. Thanks.